Allacademy. Always with you.
Hello my dear students, welcome to this online video lecture on elements of mechanical engineering. Now in this session we are going to start with our first module, that is sources of energy, then basic concept of thermodynamics, then the steam and its related properties. And in this session we are going to study in details about the sources of energies, and here in the sources of energy we are going to study what are the different types of energy resources, advantages, disadvantages, comparison, and how the energy is extracted from these resources, the energy conversion process, that we're going to study in details. Whereas in a basic concept of thermodynamics, so where we're going to study what is thermodynamics, what is a definition of heat, work, and laws of thermodynamics, and some simple numericals related to these laws we're going to study. And in the last section, that is the steam properties and steam generation. Here the simple definition of a steam, how the steam is generated, what are the properties of a steam, so that we're going to study in details, and how to use the steam table and some simple numericals on the steam properties, so that we're going to study in this module 1. But in today's session we're going to start with the first part, that is the sources of energy. And in this session we're going to start with an introduction to energy resources, then we'll discuss the advantages and disadvantages of energy resources, then we'll discuss what are renewable and non-renewable energy resources, and then last we're going to see what are the important questions that are asked on this particular topic, means whatever we are discussing today, what are the important questions that will be asked on this topic, that we're going to discuss. So without wasting much time, let us begin with today's session. Now let us know what is the definition of this energy. So in general, we can define energy as the capacity to do work. So energy can be defined as it is a capacity to do work. For example, if we want to do any work, means we need some kind of energy. So that energy is in the form of food. So whatever food we take, so that is converted into some useful energy, and based on that we can perform some work. So these energies exist in various forms of energies. So what are the forms of these energy existence means? So they exist in the form of mechanical energy, they exist in the form of thermal energy, the energy is in the form of nuclear energy, chemical energy, electromagnetic energy, sonic energy, gravitational energy, kinetic energy, potential energy, and ionization and energy. Still there are many other types of the energies exist in other types of energies also. So as we the engineer will concentrate on the how to extract in a best possible way from these sources the energy can be extracted. Means we think on the conversion of energy. For example, so to generate electrical energy we can use the mechanical, means the mechanical energy is used to convert or used to generate an electric energy by means of some hydraulic, means from hydropower plants. So where this the kinetic energy of water is get converted into mechanical energy, then from this mechanical energy with the help of generator we produce the electricity. So that is, you all know about this thing. So this is how in the energy we mainly concentrate on the conversion of these energies into some useful work. Okay, so that is the main thing what we see in this energy topic. And even we'll in the further session also we'll going to study that only the conversion of energy into useful work or useful energy, whatever available sources are there, from that how best possible we extract the energies from that, we're going to discuss in the further sessions. Now these are some examples in which the energy exists in the various forms. Now there are two types of energies which are available in nature. One is renewable and another one is a non-renewable energy sources. So in exam they have many times asked with a neat sketch or with a write a note on a renewable and a non-renewable energy resources. So generally there are two types of renewable and non-renewable sources. So let us study in details about these energy resources. Now the first one is a non-renewable energy sources. Let us know what is the definition of this non-renewable energy sources. So this is a energy source which are in a use from the several decades, like fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas, petroleum, hydel sources. So these all energies, such energies are called non-renewable energy sources. So examples for non-renewable energy sources, we have mentioned it here: coal, petroleum, natural gas, etc. So here you can see this one. So whatever energy is there, so these are available from these things. So fossil fuels, coal and natural gas, these are comes under the non-renewable energy sources. Means they are used from several decades, like fossil fuels. So from these energies are generated. The next type of energy source, that is a main category, that is a renewable energy sources. This is a very important energy sources, which we also call it as a green energy. So we also call it this energy source as a green energy sources. So why we call it as a green energy sources, that we'll discuss in the further session. Now these renewable energy, these are the alternate inexhaustible energy sources. So these are the alternate inexhaustible energy sources like solar, wind energy, tidal energy, ocean thermal energy, solid waste, hydrogen, etc. So these are the inexhaustible energy sources. So, and these are the alternative sources for our day-to-day life, and such energies are called renewable energy resources. Here you can see this hydropower energy, biogas, solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy. So these all comes under the renewable energy sources. So there are two types of energy resources. One is renewable and another one is a non-renewable energy resources. Now, so let us study in details about this in non-renewable energy resources. So the energy sources which have accumulated over the ages and do not quickly replenishable. So replenishable when they exhausted are called non-renewable energy sources. Means, so these have been accumulated over the ages and they formed themselves as an energies, and when they have been used, they cannot be reproduce them again very easily within a short time of span. So such energies are called non-renewable energy sources. Now here you can see the best examples, that is fossil fuels, nuclear, heat traps like coal, nuclear energy, petrol, fossil fuels. These are the examples for the non-renewable energies. Means once they have been used, means they cannot be reproduced immediately within a short, but they can be produced. It takes a long time or long age to produce them with whatever quantity we have been using now. For a best example is petrol. Means once we have been used, means it takes a long time to produce that quantity of fuel. So these are the energy sources, and these are more commonly means which are used abundantly used in the nature. We are means across the globe. So these energy sources are more abundantly used, but they cannot be reproduced very easily. So these are called non-renewable energy sources. Now, what are the advantages of these non-renewable energy sources? If you look into the advantages, means its initial cost are lower, hence they are widely used. As I said, petroleums are very widely used. For example, how you can say that the petroleum car means the cost is very low, means if I want to buy a petroleum car, so nowadays the electric cars are coming. When you compare the prices of a same model electric car and the petroleum car, you will find a little bit heavy price in these electrical cars due to its new advancements. So that's why, so these costs are lower when compared to the other sources. So they have been most abundantly used in the nature. Then the unit power costs are much lower, and so they are economical. So they are economical means whatever whatever unit power means per unit, whatever we are producing the energies. So when it compared to the other sources, it is a very less. So they are more economical when compared to other sources. Now the sources are highly reliable, means we can easily adopt them, we can easily accept them. So these are the very reliable energy sources. Now the power generation technology are well established. Obviously, so the electrical cars are now they are coming into market, but the IC engines, the internal combustion engines, they have been from the several years these engines are working. So they have been established, well established technologies. So these are the power generation, these are the well established technologies which is used from the several years. Now so these are some few advantages. Let us look into the disadvantages of the non-renewable energy resources. So when we look into the disadvantages of non-renewable energy resources, are they depleted and soon will be exhausted? Means they will exhaust as soon as we use them. Means as we are using in the day by day, so they will exhausted. They will get exhausted. The next one is they are pollutant to the atmosphere because of they emit the carbons. They contain the carbon. They have a carbon content. Due to that, there is a pollution in the environment. So that is a very important major drawback of these non-renewable energy resources. They are not freely available. That is a very big issue. That is means they are not freely available. Means to extract them, to convert them. So we need huge means they need a cost. As a result, we get them into some money. We need to pay it when we need to use it. Whereas the solar energy, wind energy, so these are freely available in the nature. Anybody and anywhere can be used. So when we compare to other with the renewable sources, the non-renewable sources are not freely available. So these are the few advantages and disadvantages of a non-renewable energy resources. The next very important, this is a green energy sources, that is a renewable energy resources. We also call it as a green energy resource. So these energy resources which are continuously produced in a nature and are essentially inexhaustible are called renewable energy. The word inexhaustible plays an important role here. Means they are called renewable energy because they are continuously produced, they are inexhaustible. The sun energy is inexhaustible and it is continuously producing its sun energy, means the radiation it is continuously emitting. As a result, we can get a solar energy continuously for a long period of time. Now similarly wind energy, so wind is inexhaustible, so it can be, we can produce a continuous energy when compared to these non-renewable energy resources. The examples for the renewable energy sources are here are some example, that is solar energy, then hydro energy, wind energy, biomass, geothermal and tidal energy. So these are some few examples for the renewable energy resources. So let us look into the advantages and disadvantages of these renewable energy resources. Now when we look into the advantages and the disadvantages of renewable resources, so these are inexhaustible. The first major important advantage is these are the inexhaustible energy resources, and they can match in a scale to need the and can deliver the quantity of energy. Means whatever quantity of energy we request, it will match that scale and it can deliver that quantity of energy. They can be built near the load point, means wherever we required in that particular point we can easily build them. But whereas these oil and natural coal and natural gas plants are means produced, or they have been established only where these sources are available. But the the solar and wind energy, it is available everywhere. Every corner of a world it is available, so we can establish anywhere at any point. Now the flexible in the design of conversion system, that is very important. Flexible in the conversion means from these sources what energy we are using, that conversion is very flexible. Now local self-sufficiency by harnessing a locally available renewable energy, means whatever locally available energy is there, based on that I can extract the power. For example, here if the wind is having the wind speed is high, means I can extract wind energy which is locally available, means based on the locality I can extract the energy. Now these energy resources are pollution free because they do not emit the carbon dioxide, they do not emit the carbon. As a result, they are pollution free. Sun, solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, hydro energy, so these are the sources which are pollutant free, and that's why we call them as green energies. And nowadays the every government and all the nations across the world, they wanted to develop these kinds of energy resources so that they can avoid the global warming and they can reduce the pollutions in the nature. So that's why these nowadays these sources are playing an important role in the development of a country and in the development of a nation. Now let us, these are the few points of advantages of renewable energy resources. Let us look into the disadvantages of renewable energy resources. Now if we look into the disadvantages of renewable energy resources, they intermittent nature of availability of energy such as solar, wind, etc. are the major setback in continuous supply of an energy. So even though these can be set up, means these plants or these sources extraction of energies can be set up anywhere in the world, but they are dependent on the nature of availability and they cannot produce continuously. For example, solar energy. So during rainy season, we don't get sufficient sunlight. So that is a major drawback. In during that rainy season period, so the whatever energy extraction or whatever energy required for us, that quantity we may not extract. So that is based on the nature of availability. These energy extraction may vary. That is a major drawback of these renewable energy sources. And even in wind and tidal, so that's also dependent on the nature. So based on the nature availability, so these energy producing may vary. Now these energies received at the earth is dependent on the local atmospheric condition, time of the day, part of the year. That's what we said, no? So these sources, they depend from one place to another place. For example, in like the desert areas, there the sunlight will be more when compared to these forest areas. So in that condition, so we cannot extract more energy from the solar energy cannot be converted in these kind of areas. So these depends on the atmospherical condition, local atmospheric condition, day and time and the year. Because they as the day changes, even the energy extracted will also going to changes. So it is very much dependent on the local atmosphere, day, time and the year. The next is the technology is not fully developed to meet the present energy requirement. That is one more very drawback, because the conventional, the non-renewable energy resources, the whatever technology is there, so that has been developed from several years ago. But nowadays, due to this creation of pollution in the atmosphere, so now we all, as engineers, we all wanted to avoid this pollution. So now we are going to develop, now we are getting into the development of these energies, means these technologies like wind energy, solar energy, means the already they were, even though they are from the past several decades, these energy resources, the conversion is taking place, but technologies to meet the quantity what we required for the society, so in that quantity of that technology is still not, we are not developed. So we may extract the quantity, we may extract the development, but that quantity which requires to the society, so such a technologies we are still not developed. So in the present days, so in the future we may develop. Nowadays the cars, now electric cars are available and even solar powered cars are available. In future, so as the day goes on, so the technology will improve, and one fine day we may completely depend on these renewable energy resources, so which will be very good for the environment also. Now the next, so these systems require advanced technology and hence it is a costlier, obviously, because if I want to shift into some normal process to another process, means they requires advanced technologies. As a result, so the initial investment becomes more costlier. So that's why the end products of these non-renewable resources are also bit costlier compared to the non-renewable energy resources. So these are the few advantages and disadvantages of an renewable energy resources. Now let us know what are the comparisons. Okay, so what is the comparison between the renewable and non-renewable resources? If you are able to identify, if you know the disadvantages and advantages of these two, you can easily compare them. The first comparison I can give is naturally available in a large quantity. Yes, the renewable sources are naturally available like solar, wind energy. These are available in a large quantity, whereas the non-renewable are limited to some quantity like oil, gas, then coal. So these are limited to some quantity. even though they may take to reproduce them, it may take several years or several decades to whatever quantity now we are extracting. If you want to extract same thing, it will take many times. So as a result, it is a limited quantity. Next, these energy resources can be replenished easily, means they can be easily replenished, whereas once these the non-renewable resources are depleted, they take reasonable time to renewable. They take some time to reproduce or retake them or re-extract them. Next, these energy resources are non-exhaustible. That is very important. These are non-exhaustible. These energy resources are exhaustible. Now, in the renewable energy sources are free for pollution, means they are pollutant free. So they are eco-friendly. In the non-renewable energy sources, they emit the carbons like petrol, diesel vehicles. They emit the carbon dioxide. As a result, they create the pollution in the environment. The example is sunlight, water, wind, and here fossil fuels, coal, petroleum products. These are the few examples. So these are the few comparisons with respect to renewable and non-renewable energy resources. So let us look into the previous year question papers. So on this topic, how the questions are asked or questions are framed, and what is the weightage of marks. So in the previous year, the most of the repeated questions are write a note on energy resources. So then in this question, for this question, you have to write what is a definition for renewable resources, example, non-renewable resources, example, that you have to write it with an example. And this question is asked for 6 marks. And another question is list out the advantages and disadvantages for renewable and non-renewable energy resources. This question is asked for 8 marks. Now here in this, you need to write the advantages of renewable and non-renewable resources, again disadvantages for renewable and non-renewable. And these will carry 4 marks for advantages and disadvantages for renewable resources and 4 marks for advantages and disadvantages of renewable, non-renewable resources. The 50-50 marks will be divided. The next one is differentiate between the renewable and non-renewable energy resources. So it is asked for 8 marks in the previous exam. So for this question, you need to minimum write 6 points. Minimum 6 point has to be written. The differences, minimum 6 differences has to be written. So which we have already discussed in this session. So you have to list out the minimum 6 differences, and this question is asked for 8 marks. So these are the few questions which are repeatedly asked in the previous university examination. So hope, dear students, whatever concepts we have discussed in today's session, it is clear to you people. That is an introduction to energy, definition of renewable and non-renewable energy resources, and advantages and disadvantages and comparison of renewable and non-renewable resources. And in the next session, we're going to study in details the types of renewable energy resources and non-renewable energy resources in details in the next session. And if you are having any doubts in today's session, you can comment it in the comment box and we'll try to clarify your doubts.
Click on subscribe button and press the bell icon to get updates from Allacademy.